Nathan, 32, had been married to Ava, 33, for nearly 7 years. Their relationship had always been calm and steady, marked by a mutual decision not to have children, something that suited them both. But lately, the stability they once cherished had begun to unravel. Ava had started voicing a growing restlessness, often saying she felt like her life was stuck on repeat. A few months earlier, she even floated the idea of having a child, claiming it might bring some much-needed excitement. Though they had agreed early on that parenthood wasn't part of their vision, Nathan didn't shut her down. He told her he was open to having the conversation. But after only a couple of discussions, Ava abruptly brushed the idea aside, calling it a fleeting thought. Nathan assumed it was nothing more than a passing phase. He had no clue it was the start of something far more troubling. Then, one evening, Ava calmly told Nathan she was going on a date. At first, he thought she was making a cruel joke, but her expression didn't shift. She was entirely serious. She told him the man's name was Eric, a co-worker she'd grown close to. According to Ava, this so-called date was just a way of injecting some thrill into her routine life. Nathan sat in stunned silence. How could this be real? Ava spoke with unnerving calm, describing how she and Eric had bonded over feeling stuck in their respective lives. She insisted it was just a casual dinner, nothing to worry about. When Nathan questioned why she'd call it a date if it was supposedly harmless, she looked at him coldly and said she wanted to be transparent. To her, honesty made it easier. But to Nathan, her words cut deeper. She leaned in and gave him a light kiss on the forehead before disappearing into their bedroom to get ready. Nathan remained frozen on the couch, gripped by a storm of rage, heartbreak, and disbelief. He watched helplessly as she emerged wearing her scarlet dress, the one she always chose for meaningful occasions. But this time, it wasn't for him. He saw her catch her own reflection in the mirror and smile, a smile meant for someone else. That moment shattered him. This wasn't the woman he'd married. And worse, she didn't seem to care. Desperate for guidance, Nathan picked up the phone and called his best friend, Kevin. He couldn't bring himself to admit what was really happening, so he described it as something a co-worker was going through. Kevin tried to ease his worry, suggesting maybe it was harmless. But Nathan knew better. This wasn't just dinner. It was the beginning of the end. It was a gut-wrenching betrayal. Ava came home earlier than Nathan had anticipated, around 9:30 p.m., wearing an unfamiliar, almost unsettling smile. Her lipstick was smeared, and exhaustion clung to her eyes. As she wrapped her arms around him, she whispered, "That was thrilling." Nathan forced a smile, managing only to say, "Glad you enjoyed it," though his chest burned with pain. But before he could gather his thoughts, she delivered another cruel blow. She and Eric had made plans for a weekend getaway. Nathan stood paralyzed, his mind spinning. He stared at her in disbelief while she spoke casually, completely unaware or uncaring of the wreckage she was leaving behind. That night, sleep eluded him. He lay awake, mind spiraling, replaying every moment, every word. By dawn, the truth was undeniable. His marriage had collapsed. But if Ava believed she could waltz away from this without consequence, she was mistaken. For 7 years, Nathan had given her unwavering loyalty, and this reckless infidelity was her response. The more he thought about it, the more resolute he became. He wouldn't plead, argue, or stoop to her level. Instead, he would make sure she felt the full weight of her decisions. By Saturday afternoon, Nathan had changed every lock in the house. Her key no longer worked. He gathered her possessions, stuffed them into black trash bags, and left them stacked in the garage. Later that evening, he stood quietly in the doorway as Ava gleefully packed her suitcase, humming with anticipation for her trip with Eric. She was completely blind to the fact that her life was about to change. Nathan, his heart hollow, held up his phone and recorded her. In her careless excitement, she bragged aloud about how free and alive she felt. He captured it all, knowing it would prove invaluable during their divorce proceedings and protect him if she ever tried to twist the story. By the next morning, Eric pulled into their driveway. Ava emerged wearing yet another red dress, her favorite color when she wanted to feel bold. She threw Nathan a carefree kiss as she slipped into the car. He didn't flinch. He simply watched them drive away. It was a final confirmation that their relationship was beyond saving. When Ava returned late Sunday, she was met with a locked door. Her key, now useless, rattled in the knob. She banged on the door, calling his name again and again. Nathan sat inside, watching the live footage from the security camera, her panic on full display. Eventually, he opened the door. Ava's face was streaked with tears as she tried to push past him, but he stood in her way, calm, unmoving. "I warned you," he said, his voice firm. Ava had always chased after excitement. Now that she'd found it, it didn't resemble the fantasy she imagined. Her world was crumbling. She broke down, sobbing, apologizing, insisting Eric had pressured her. But Nathan didn't waver. She had made a decision. Now she had to live with it. Without a word, he handed her the video of her own gloating. As she watched it, her face drained of color. Reality had finally caught up with her. "You destroyed what we had, Ava," he said, ice in his tone. "Now you can figure life out on your own." He didn't say much, just pointed toward the garage where her belongings sat in black trash bags. "You need to go," he said flatly. She begged him not to do this, her voice cracking with desperation. But he shut the door without another word. She stayed outside for hours, hoping he'd come back. He never did. The decision was final. The divorce papers would follow, and there was no reversing it. The days that followed felt like standing in the aftermath of a hurricane, everything still and silent, except for the damage it left behind. The house, once brimming with tension and strained conversations, was now eerily calm. At least it was mine again. Ava had craved adventure. Well, she got it, just not with me. I filed the paperwork and had the documents sent to her parents' place, the only grounded spot left in her life. I'd heard she was crashing with an old friend, Julia, likely unaware of the storm Ava had stirred up. But Ava didn't accept the ending gracefully. My phone lit up with her texts, missed calls, and voicemails. Each message grew more frantic than the last. Her mother even reached out once, tearfully asking me to give Ava another chance. But there was no path forward, only the jagged wreckage of trust. Each time her name appeared on my screen, it pulled me backward, into memories I didn't want. Her laugh as she packed for Eric. The indifference in her eyes when I had asked her to stay. The way she believed our bond was too strong to break. She was wrong. So when she eventually made her next move, I wasn't caught off guard. One afternoon, buried in reports at work, I heard a commotion in the hallway. My assistant was speaking with someone, but Ava's frantic voice rose above the noise. "Please, just give me a minute. I need to talk to him." I stepped out and saw her there, disheveled, eyes swollen from crying, holding the unsigned divorce papers in her trembling hands. Her appearance startled even my co-workers. The woman who had once been so poised was now unraveling. I led her into a private room, shielding her from the curious stays. "What do you want?" I asked coldly. She lifted the papers. "I can't do this, Nathan. I can't sign them. I still love you. Please, we can fix it." This version of her was unrecognizable. Gone was the confident woman who had walked away so easily. But I couldn't soften. Not now. Not after everything. "There's nothing to fix," I replied. "You made your decision. Now live with it." Tears streamed down her cheeks. Her voice cracked. I was wrong. I thought it would be exciting, something new, but it turned into a nightmare. I never stopped loving you. You were always the one. Rage stirred within me, but I kept my composure. "You thought you could burn everything down and then just walk back in," I said, like it didn't happen. She reached for my hand, but I stepped away. "I've already given you my answer," I said, turning my back and walking out, her sobs echoing behind me. After that, she stopped reaching out for a while. I heard through mutual connections that she had started therapy, maybe her first real step toward change. But for me, it wasn't enough. I needed closure on my terms. I began gathering everything: texts, photos, call logs, a full record of her affair with Eric. I wasn't building a case to win something in court. I just needed her to see it all through my eyes, to feel the damage she had inflicted. I mailed the file to her parents' address. The next morning, she left me a voicemail. "I got it," she said quietly. "Your package. I see it now, Nathan. I finally do. I know what I destroyed. I don't expect forgiveness. I just needed you to know that I understand. I'm sorry." There was something different in her voice this time. No excuses, no denial, just acknowledgement. And strangely, that was enough. For the first time, I felt a release. The divorce was finalized a few weeks later. No grand gestures, no last-minute drama. She signed and moved back in with her parents. I stayed. It was my house now. Her presence had been erased, and in the quiet that followed, I found clarity. I started rebuilding. The gym became a routine. I dusted off my hiking boots. I even picked up painting again, something I hadn't touched in years. Kevin, my closest friend, stood by me. He reminded me who I was beneath the pain. Eventually, Ava reached out one last time. A handwritten letter. Honest. Apologetic. She told me she was working on herself. But I never replied. I didn't need to. She had finally understood, and her journey forward no longer involved me. Months passed. The seasons shifted. And so did I. I was no longer the shattered man I'd been. I had grown, stronger, sharper, more grounded. I knew now that even the deepest pain could be survived. One afternoon, while hiking with Kevin, we crossed paths with a group. Among them was Emily. She was warm and easy to talk to. Her smile eased something inside me. She joined us on the trail, and I found myself laughing, really laughing, for the first time in a long while. We grabbed coffee a few days later. It wasn't instant magic, but it was real. Emily reminded me what love should feel like. Steady, respectful, sincere. Where it all leads, I don't know yet. But what I do know is this. Ava chose her path, and she paid the price. As for me, I chose to rebuild, one piece at a time. And whoever I become next, I'm not the man who once begged someone to stay. I'm better.